I went from reading 12 books a year to last year reading 146. That's insane. Hey book besties, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about some of my best tips for how to read more books. It's the beginning of the year and a lot of people set a reading goal, whether they have been a reader for a while and they're just setting a reading goal number that they want to reach, or somebody is just kind of getting back into reading and they want to make it a goal to just read more books. So I have put together a lot of tips and tricks that have worked for me on my reading journey that I want to use to help you out, because I think a lot of people get really in their head about reading books and how they want to approach it and everything, but it sometimes can be really simple. And it just takes some changes in your lifestyle to get those words in. So I want to share all of my tips with you because I love reading, and being part of a book community is just the best. I want everybody to be a part of it. Before we get into my tips, make sure you follow along, subscribe to my channel for more book content. I love sharing book recommendations, unboxing videos, and just talking about all things books. So I'd love for you to stick around. So for the first tip I'm going to share, let's talk about how you can actually get started reading without spending a single dime. I started my reading journey using the Libby app, which is part of the local library. All libraries have some kind of Libby app to it. I think almost everyone should have that. So as long as you have a library card, you can access Libby. Library cards are free. If you don't have one, you can go to your local library. Some even allow you to sign up for a library card online, so you can do that too. Usually you just need some kind of proof of residence, so like some kind of letter that you've gotten in the mail, or your driver's license, of course, but something that proves that you live in that county for you to get a library card. And then once you have the Libby app, honestly, I started reading on my phone. That's it. I didn't buy a Kindle. I didn't buy an iPad. I didn't buy any kind of device to read. I strictly read on my phone. So I downloaded the Libby app, and then you just download the Kindle app, and you can download the Kindle app anywhere. You can do it right on your phone, and you can read your books right through there. For the first probably 2 to 3 years, I strictly read on my phone. I didn't read a physical book. I didn't read on a Kindle. Like I said, I didn't even have one. That's how I read. And it worked for me. It helped me get some reading in. And it was so easy because I could always have a book with me and I would just open it up and read it. And it sounds really simple, but it did work for me. And it's completely free. Like when I started reading, I didn't have like money to be spending on books. So library had them for free. Sometimes you will have to wait a little while for books that you're wanting, especially if they're popular books and you're limited to what your library offers in their catalog, but you can still find a ton of great books. And what I love about Libby is you can put books on hold. So if there is a popular book you're wanting to read, you can place a hold on it and Libby will tell you when it becomes available and you can check it out. There is a time limit on how long you can check out a book. The maximum is 3 weeks. So for me, that worked out pretty well. Even when I was reading a lot slower, I could usually get a book done within the 3-week time frame, as long as I started it right when I got it and just read through it. But that kind of depends, depending on how fast of a reader you are. But if it's a book that's not a lot of people are checking out, renew your loan and get the book for longer. But I'd find that 3 weeks is a good way to challenge yourself to try to get through that one book. But if you are trying to do some free reads in addition to Libby, if you are an Amazon Prime member, you actually already get the benefit of getting at least one book free a month. Amazon has a program called Amazon First Reads, and every month they have between 6 to 8 books, usually releases that are coming out the following month, that you can download for free. And these are some popular books sometimes that just haven't released yet from popular authors. So you really get something that's new and exciting. And they have a lot of different genres. So depending on what genre you read, they usually always have a romance book, a thriller book, historical fiction, literary fiction, something like that. So you can find something that you like and go ahead and download it. And there are also a lot of, you've probably seen this before, as Stuff Your Kindle days, where you can download books for free. Usually it's hard to kind of plan for these, I find. I usually just happen upon it when they're happening. But if you're scrolling through social media somewhere, I'm sure if you're on some kind of a book algorithm, you'll see when those happen and you can stuff your Kindle with free books. So those are some ways that you can start reading without spending any money. So if that's kind of what's holding you back, just give that a try. And that might be the way that you can jump into reading without too much of a commitment. For my next tip, part of what can be so challenging with reading is finding the time to do it. I have a job that I work like almost full-time hours. I have my kids at home, I homeschool them, and I have kids, I'm a mom. So there's not a lot of time in my free time to do things that I want to do. But I do think it's really important to find little pockets of time wherever you can to do something for yourself. And reading has become that for me in such a major way. So that's kind of how I approach whatever my free time is. And I've tweaked what my free time looks like to make time for reading because that's a hobby that's really important to me. So when I first started my reading journey, when I was reading was pretty much only at night. I had actually found that I was scrolling on social media a lot as I was laying in bed, and I was just looking for a way to not be on social media so much. So when I had downloaded Libby and I had books on my phone, that's what I was doing instead of scrolling on social media. And that's a, trend, I guess, that I started doing in 2021, and I'm still doing it now. That is what I do every night when I lay in bed before I go to sleep. I usually can get about 30 to 45 minutes of reading in, just right there on my phone. I do wear blue light glasses so that the light doesn't keep me awake. And it's so helpful because not only has it helped me get in pages to read, it also helps me wind down and fall asleep because I used to have a hard time falling asleep at night. So this has been major for me, and I tell everybody to do stuff like this because it really has made a difference for me. So that's one pretty easy way that I can get words in because if you're already laying in bed at night, scrolling, if you switch it for doing reading instead, it can help. And then when I was looking at how I spent my free time, I was trying to think of ways that I could fit reading in. And one of the ways I've done that is by cutting back on how much TV I watch. So after my kids go to sleep, what I used to do is I would sit downstairs in the living room and I would watch TV. And I enjoy that. I love watching TV. There's a lot of really great TV shows that I've seen, and that was what I would do. But when I was wanting to read more, I was like, what if I didn't watch TV and I was instead reading? And now that's what I do. I do watch some TV shows. I'm not completely off TV. And even on the nights when my husband is up late, when we spend time together, that's what we do together is we watch TV. But I have shows that I catch up on. I still watch Grey's Anatomy. I love watching Abbott Elementary. So I'll watch those shows every week. But other than that, I'm mostly reading when I have time alone at night. And depending on what I've got going on that evening, some nights I'm filming, some nights I have a little bit of work to do, or I've got cleaning up to do or whatever. But other than that, I'll just be reading. And that's been so major because some nights I can sit up for 2 to 3 hours and get some reading done. So it's really nice, and it's been a better way for me to relax than watching TV. It's just it feels so calming. I always make an experience out of it. I'll put an ambiance video on YouTube. I'll have a nice little drink, some seltzer or something, and a snack, and I'll read my book. And it's so nice to have some quiet to just read. Now, of course, everybody's schedule is different. So while that worked for me, your schedule might look completely different than mine, and how you fit it in might be different. Maybe you work a job at night, and maybe in the morning might be the only time you read. So you kind of have to just think about how you're spending your free time, and if you want to figure out a way to add reading into it and where you can do that. You don't have to read every single night if you don't want to. You can fit pockets of time in when you can. If you have one night a week where you're you know what, I think on this night is usually when I have a lot of free time, and I think I'm going to dedicate it to reading. That works for you. So that's kind of my biggest thing, is to figure out how in your schedule you can maybe move some things around to fit time in for reading if that's something you're really wanting to do. So we've talked a little bit about how I read ebooks, and I do read physical books as well. But I think a couple other ways that you can get through more books is with audiobooks. Audiobooks are so helpful because you don't have to have something physically in your hands to be reading it. I a lot of times read audiobooks when I'm in the car, and sometimes I can get through quite a bit of an audiobook because I'm in the car for a while. It's always when I go to my hair appointment, because my hair appointment is my hairdresser is an hour away from where I live, so I can get 2 hours of a book done just on the trip alone. So that can be really helpful. And I know that a lot of people travel for work. Like if you're commuting or whatever, you can listen to an audiobook during your commute and then you can get some reading in. It's a really convenient way to read, and I love that. But I've also heard a lot of people will put an audiobook on while they're cleaning and it helps them like get through their cleaning better or whatever. Sometimes I put it on when like I'm doing some cooking or something. So it really can help you fit in reading when you're doing something else. And it did come with like a learning curve for me, because when I first started audiobooks, I felt like I couldn't be doing too much. Like actually one time when I was trying to listen to an audiobook while driving, my brain like felt like it glitched out because I felt like I couldn't understand what was happening as I was driving. I've since like gotten over that and I would do it all the time, but it's sort of something you might have to adapt to, and that's totally fine because you might be able to, you might not, and that's okay, but it can be helpful if you're able to do that, to be reading a book while you're doing something else. And before anybody comes for me, audiobooks do count as reading. They do. They just do. There's no argument about it that they count as reading. So that can be really helpful. But also like kind of in conjunction with that, I usually have multiple books going at a time because as I said, I read on my phone and that's strictly on an ebook. So I'll have at least one ebook going at a time and usually at least one physical book. And sometimes with the physical book I'm reading, I will have the audio too. Not all the time, but sometimes. And then sometimes I'm strictly listening to an audiobook. But usually, especially lately, I have an audiobook for a physical book that I'm reading, just because sometimes I like to do immersive reads, which is so fun. Because you can like, an immersive read is when you have the physical book in front of you and you're listening to the audiobook, so you can read along as you're hearing it. And it kind of elevates the experience. And for me, someone with anxiety, it helps like shut down my thoughts, because sometimes like my brain is still going as I'm reading a book. But I find that if I'm looking at the book and listening to it, like my brain can't think of anything else. So it's been really helpful that way for me. So I definitely recommend trying it out if you haven't before, because it can be a really great experience. But all that to say, if you're reading multiple books at a time, sometimes it feels like you can get through them faster because you have like, you're reading them in different ways. And so you're reading more at once. It doesn't make any sense really, but it kind of does. I don't know what it is. But sometimes I'll feel like, wow, I haven't finished a book in a while. And then all of a sudden I finish like 3 at once because I was reading 3 at a time. And that's just how it happens. So I think it can be a good way to get through more of your books. And I will say that one of my biggest tips on reading multiple books at a time is to read different genres at a time. Because if you're reading like 2 romance books at the same time, it could be easy to get confused. So usually I'll like to do like a thriller book and a romance book at the same time, sometimes throw historical fiction in there, or like make sure that the book is different enough. Like if you're reading 2 cowboy romances at once, they're gonna blend together a little bit. But if you're reading like a romantic suspense and then like a fluffy small town romance, that might be a little easier to differentiate and not get all the storylines mixed up. For my last tip, this is a big one that I think a lot of people have trouble with, but you have to get comfortable DNFing a book. If you are not enjoying a book, don't finish it. DNF means do not finish. So just put it down. If you're not enjoying it, put it down, because if you push yourself to read a book that you're not enjoying, that's the biggest way to get yourself into a reading slump and to just not enjoy reading. But honestly, not every book is going to be for you, and that is okay. It is completely fine. You're the one who's reading the book. You're the one who matters here. So if you're not enjoying it, just put it down. And even if you want to put it down and maybe come back to it at a different time, that's totally fine. But if sometimes you can feel it. You can feel like while you're reading a book, you're like, I'm not enjoying this. Like, I'm kind of bored. Like, I'm not interested in this. Or you find yourself not feeling eager to pick it up. That's a sign that maybe you just need to put it down. Whether you put it down forever or you put it down for a little bit, put it down and pick up something else. Because when you try to, like I said, you try to force yourself to do it, it's just, you're not going to feel excited about reading in general, when really it might not be that you're not wanting to read. It might be that you don't want to read that book in particular. So get comfortable doing that. It can be a little hard. I used to be somebody who had to finish a book, had to know what happened, whatever. But I learned the hard way by forcing myself to read a book that I constantly questioned whether I should stop reading it, pushed through, and wished I had stopped reading it. So now I know if I'm not enjoying it, goodbye. We are done for now, for later, whatever. So yeah, just give yourself the grace to do that. It can be hard for some people, and I totally get that. But if you practice that, it can really help you enjoy your reading experience, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Well, I hope that these tips helped you. I love sharing my tips on reading because my reading experience has been so incredible. I've just really loved that books have found their way back into my life after not really reading much for a while. And I just love it so much, and I want other people to enjoy this too, especially if they're wanting to get back into reading. So like I said, I hope that these tips help. I hope that they help you get started on reading and just find that love of reading again, because it really is honestly one of the best hobbies. If you have any tips on how people can get started on reading or read more books in this year, please drop them in the comments to help everybody out. Thanks for watching, besties. I'll see you next time.